Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. There are more of you than we expected. We're always happy about that. My name is Penny Wright. We're delighted this evening that Lisa Kombrink is here to talk about her trip to Vietnam. I wanted to mention that after this program, I want to thank a couple of people. One is our own reference department, who went through our shelves and found wonderful books about Vietnam that you may check out, and they're in the back of the room. So don't rush out, have to browse through our books. And the other thing is that at the end of this program, those of you who leave early may be sorry, because we're going to have some refreshments that were organized by Lisa and various other people. So very generous of her to make this happen, and those who helped her as well. We met Lisa some months ago and thought that her story really was a wonderful story to hear. So I'll tell you a couple of things. I know some of you know her very well, and some of you don't. But Lisa Kombrink, her husband Jesse Camacho, who's here, and their son Gabe live in Southampton Village. Lisa and Jesse first traveled to Vietnam in December of 2001 to adopt Gabe when he was 11 months old. They brought him to the United States. They then returned in Vietnam 13 years later, shortly after Gabe turned 14. Lisa and Jesse are both very active in our community. Jesse works in security and safety at Southampton Hospital, teaches classes at the Bridgehampton Child Care Center as well. He's a member of the Southampton Little League Board of Directors. Gabe will be going to the Southampton High School this fall. That's why he's not here. No. He's at an age that we think we're taping this for posterity, let's just say, put it that way. But Gabe plays baseball on the Southampton school team and in the senior Southampton Little League. Lisa is a partner in the law firm of Toomey, Latham, Shelley, Kelly, Dubin, and Cortero. I'm sorry, I did that. A trustee of Southampton Hospital, and a member of the board of directors of the East End Health Alliance. She has appeared on CNN, on ABC's morning show, WOR Radio, Court TV, has been a guest lecturer at the Suffolk Academy of Law, at the New School for Social Research, Southampton College, Siena Spirituality Center, and now her latest achievement, the Rogers Memorial Library. Yeah. Please welcome Lisa Kombrink.
Thank you, Penny. Do you need your reading glasses?
Oh yeah, I do.
Don't leave home without it. Thank you. Thank you all for coming today. I'm so happy to see all of you. I appreciate you coming out for this talk today. It means a lot to me. There's a lot of you who were part of Jesse and my adoption story. I want to give a special shout out to all of you who helped us during our adoption process, who supported us, prayed for us, had meditation circles, met us in different places, drove us to the airport and back. I'm very grateful for that. It's really nice to be here today. And I want to thank Penny and Yvette and their staff and the board of directors of Rogers Memorial Library for sponsoring this program, and also for the Armchair Traveler series and all the great programs at the library. So I'm very nervous. I don't usually act like it, but I'm pretty nervous today. I'm here to tell you a story about connections. It's about connections between our family. My husband Jesse's here in the front row. Our son Gabe, who's at baseball practice right now at the high school. Our family and a family that lives over 8,000 miles away in the northwest mountains of Vietnam. It's It's about how the connection between our two families started and how it resulted in Jesse and Gabe and I traveling back to Vietnam at the beginning of this year, actually the end of last year. The adoption process is lengthy. It takes about 2 years. And one of the big milestones in the adoption process is getting what's called the referral. And the referral is when a family is matched with the child that they will be able to adopt. So our referral started when I was at Sip and Soda. I was having lunch with 2 friends, and the phone rang in the back. I don't know if you know, there's still a payphone at Sip and Soda. So the payphone rang, and one of the waitresses came and she said, "Are you Lisa?" "Yes." She said, "Your friend Ann is on the phone." She said, you better go back and talk to her. So I went into the little booth, and my friend Ann, who's in the back row, said, "Lise, you've got your referral. Call the adoption agency." So I called Spence Chapin, our adoption agency in New York, and we made arrangements for our social worker, who was from Shelter Island, to come to our house. We lived in East Quad at that time. And she brought with her the first photograph of our son. And if all goes well, there he is. In this picture, he's about 2 months old. And you'll see at the bottom, that's his Vietnamese name. Looks like Tron Hum Dung. And the order of the name is reversed. So his last name is at the end. It looks like Dung. He really doesn't like that. But it's pronounced Young. And that's how they identified the babies, and to make sure that when you got a picture, you got a picture of the right baby. So that was Gabe at that point. We also, through the course of the adoption process, got copies and some originals of other documents. One of them was this document in Vietnamese, and it's Gabe's birth certificate. We had it translated into English, but it includes the name of what we call his birth mother, or first mother. You can see it over on the left side about halfway down, and it also included her address. And there it is translated into English. We also received, when we were in Vietnam for the first time, this letter, an original letter written on notebook paper from Gabe's birth mother. And in this letter, she relinquished him to an adoption agency. We received a translation of that letter, and it said that she was a poor, single mother, she was a farmer, and she was unable to care for him. And for those reasons, she was sending him to the orphanage. And there's the translation of that document. I don't know if I mentioned, she was also a single mother, which in Vietnam is not culturally accepted. So here's Jesse, Gabe, and I, the very first time that we got Gabe at the orphanage. And it's fitting that he's wearing pinstripes, still a baseball player. And then we brought Gabe back to the United States. And here's a party that was given for us by some friends of ours at Papa D's, no longer there, but on Montauk Highway in Hampton Bays. He was just short. Well, he just had turned a year. He was about a year old and about almost 2 months. So I'll just go back for a minute. When I got the birth certificate and the letter, I thought about Gabe's birth mother. And this is a photograph of her. Her name is Miss Quay, Qhue. I decided that this woman, this this birth mother would want to know what happened to her son that was sent to the orphanage when he was only 2 or 3 weeks old. So when Gabe was about 6, Jesse and I decided that we would find someone who could try to locate her. And through my contacts in the adoption community, we found a woman in California. Her name was Katie. She was a nurse, also an adoptive mother of a daughter from Vietnam. She went to Vietnam many times, I learned, and she went to visit her daughter's Vietnamese family. And when she went there, she frequently searched for other families' birth mothers. So she agreed to try to find Miss Quay. And we communicated really mostly by phone and email. She told me when she would be going, what month, then what week, and then what day. So the day that she said she was going to go, she promised that she would call me when she got back. So late in the day, I got a phone call from Katie, and she said, "We found her." She described a very difficult journey. She said they almost turned back. It was so hard to find. It was a very rough trip. It was about 5.5 hours with a driver and a translator. She described Miss Quay as the poorest, among the poorest of the poor. She said, based on her experience as a nurse, that she was suffering from malnutrition. She was missing teeth, and she was very, very thin. She took with her a letter from me, some photographs of our family, and some self-addressed stamped envelopes. And that began what now is over an 8-year-long correspondence with Miss Quay and I. Katie, that found her, sent some photographs back that I got via email. And back in those days, you know, emailing a photograph was like a pretty big deal. So this was one of the photographs of her. And we found out that she had another son, an older son. And there he is. He was 12 years old at this time. And she gave to us one of the 2 photographs that she had of him. His name is Khoa, K-H-O-A. A couple other pictures. This is Miss Quay's house. Hopefully it'll come back. This is her home. And there she is outside of her home. So I knew when I received these photographs and I spoke to Katie that the information that I read in the letter was true, that she was very poor and living in very difficult circumstances. And I guess at that point, I felt that it was my obligation as a mother to let her know that her son had come to the United States and that he was safe, and that he was well taken care of, and that he was loved. I can't say exactly how it happened, but not too long after, I received my first letter in the mailbox. And they came folded, origami style, usually written on notebook paper. And it was very difficult sometimes to unravel them. But they always were extremely neat, and they came with the most beautiful stamps on the envelopes. It was very exciting to always get these letters. And I had to arrange to have them translated, which sometimes was kind of a difficult undertaking. I had a lot of help from different people over the years doing the translations. So before we go too much further into the slideshows, I just wanted to read a little bit from some of the letters. I had to practice her name, writing her name, so there it is, to make sure that when I wrote back to her that it would actually get to her. So just share with you a little bit about a little bit from the letters. The first one that I received was from December 2007. Sorry. Beloved Mr. and Mrs., I received the news of you and of my son for the first time since the adoption. I wish you good health, and please give my love to Young. That's Gabe's Vietnamese name. Also, please give my best to the kind lady who came to give me the news. And please let her know that my family thank her. Dearest lady, I'm very happy to hear that Young is well and doing fine in school. I'm very thankful to you. I would like to ask one favor of you. Would you please allow Young to visit his brother? If he has the opportunity, please allow them to visit so that both of them knows that he has a brother out there thinking of him. That is my dream. Because of Young, two families, yours and mine, become one. I only ask that you please take good care of Young. I love and miss him very much, and I am grateful for your kindness. And then she wrote to Gabe, my dearest son. My sweetheart, recently here was a lady from the United States who came to visit here. She let me know that you arrived safe and sound and are doing well. I'm very happy. And I wrote back to her, it took some time to find Katie to visit you, and I am searching for another person who can come to see you and look in on you in the near future. Gabriel turned 9 years old. We had a little party at his 3rd grade class at school, and then took him and 5 of his friends to a place called Chuck E. Cheese. I had to explain what that was. We hope to come to Vietnam when he is a bit older and can appreciate coming to his homeland. He has known since he was a little boy that he is adopted, and that you, his birth mother, loved him so much and made the most difficult and unimaginable sacrifice to ensure his well-being. We are one family despite our great distance. I am confident we will meet each other one day, even if we are much older, and we are much older now. Her response to me, February 10, 2010, I very much hope that I will have a chance to see you and Young as soon as possible. Since the past 10 years, I have wanted to know how he looks, yet have no way to see him. I miss him ceaselessly. I hope you will arrange to come here so I will meet him to see how much he has grown. Please do try to come. I wrote to her later that year, Young is getting ready for his 10th birthday. He has asked for something called Lego. He is getting to be such a big boy. He is taller than my shoulder now. Now he's way up here. Although he is still slim, his muscles are heavier now and I can barely lift him anymore. I hope that one day we will be able to visit you and your family in Vietnam. It is a long trip, and we will need to save up the money to do this. I hope that you will keep writing to us so that you can continue to know that Young is well taken care of and loved very much. She wrote me at the beginning of 2011 that she was ill. I am very glad that Young is a good student, well-behaved boy, and listens to you. With that news, I feel healthy again, as if my illness had gone away. Over here, I have only one son. My utmost desire is for the 2 boys to meet, so please try to arrange for a visit with me here once. Please write when you receive this letter. She wrote me later that year, it has been a while since I received your letter. I wish you good health and thank you very much for caring for me. Is Young okay? Is he healthy? How is he studying? Does he behave well? Always an important question. Is he behaving? I miss him much and love him very much. I only wish to have a chance to meet him. Will you try to help me see him once? You know I will not cause any trouble for you, don't you? Please understand. I am now sick and unable to work. Living by myself makes me feel very sad. I am waiting to hear your good news and end my letter here. I wrote her back Gabriel Young is doing very well. You would be very proud of him. He is now in the 5th grade and goes to a new school called the middle school. Although we are so far from each other, I feel a special bond with you. I know that you made a great sacrifice when you decided that Young could be better cared for by others. For this reason, I have always wanted you to know that he is safe and very loved here with us. She wrote us in June 2012, recently I have received mail and envelopes from you. I am very happy. I wish that one day I get a chance to see you and Young very soon. Please let Young come back and see me. I have only one wish. One day I get to see you and Young. I don't need you to provide me with any material things. What I need is affection. I hope you understand what I mean. As I was in deep difficulties and had disease, I couldn't raise him. I believed in you. I gave him up for adoption so that he can be in better care and education. You can help my son grow to be a good man. Since I know you adopt him and live with him, I feel very happy. I just hope one day you will let him come and see me. But the more I hope, the more disappointed I am. Wish you good health and happiness. I wrote her back. Young is now 11 years old. He will turn 12 soon. I know that you would be very proud of him. He is a very good student, particularly in math. I understand your need to see Young. We hope one day we will be able to come back to Vietnam. We will have to save the money for the trip, which is substantial. We also want to wait until he is old enough to appreciate the trip and to remember it. He needs to be mature enough to understand the journey and process it emotionally. She wrote back, I have received your letter and I am very happy and touched. I am very grateful that you not only have a passion for taking care of him on my behalf, but also that you have kept in touch with me regularly. Then she says, I am 50 years old now, and I am no longer young. Due to various medical conditions, I do not know how much longer I could live. My only wish is that I can see him once and know how he looks like. I hope you will take some time and let him come to visit me so that he can know our family. And then last summer, I received a letter from Gabe's brother, and this was a complete surprise to me. My name is Kwa, and I am the child of Mother Quay. I miss my brother a lot. Since my mother gave birth to my brother, I have only been able to hold him one time. Then we have to say goodbye. I hope that in the near future you will allow Young to meet me. I am learning to become a telephone technician. When you let Young visit us, please let me know the time so that I can come back and we can see each other. I do not know how mature he is now and what grade he is in, what he is doing, and if he is in good health. I am already 20 years old and quite mature. I do not know what to say rather than to thank you very much and wish you good health and full of happiness. So I wrote back to him and told him, we will travel to Thuyen Quang, that was the province where Gabriel was born, in early January to meet you and your mother. We will let you know the date once we know it. Your little brother, Young, his American name is Gabe, is really looking forward to seeing you. I shared your letter with him. And then the last letter I wrote to Miss Quay in November of last year. We hope you are doing well and in good health. We will be seeing you very soon. I understand that someone in Vietnam has already contacted you about our visit. We look forward to it. So somehow, Jesse and I learned of this program. It's called the TIES program. They take adopted families and their children back to the countries where their children were born so that they can have a positive experience of their birth country. There's some brochures over on the table from Ties. This particular program we went on is called Vietnam Ties. They have other programs. They go to Russia, they go to Guatemala, they go to many places. And the Ties program arranged for us to meet with Gabe's family, and also for us to spend 2 weeks, the end of last year and into this year, touring Vietnam. So we'll have the slideshow. I'm not going to say a lot. Just once in a while, I'll jump in. And hopefully the technology will work. These are all LED lights for the new year. And this is a typical streets scene. This is the old post office, a very famous historical building. And during the first week, we met Gabe's brother, Qua, at our hotel. It was wonderful. Here we are with a translator in our hotel lobby. And that's Gabe's brother. The highlight of Gabe's first week in Vietnam was going on a motor scooter run together. I got a few more gray hairs. The next group of photos is from various temples and pagodas that we visited. Here's Jesse lighting the bottom of an incense coil. We attached our prayers in those red strips, and then everyone's prayers are hung at the top of the temple. Very famous Catholic church. Next couple photos are from a tourist wayside stop where you could buy all these religious and other statues. And this is from the Temple of Literature. Vietnamese love flowers and flower arrangements. At the end of our second week, we took a trip to the Mekong Delta by bus and then by boat. So these are all photos from our tour of the Mekong Delta region. There's some of our kids. Gabe with the sunglasses, the only one who wouldn't wear the hat. We had tea with a family that we donated a boat to. And we had a wonderful lunch at this private home. I think I could have just taken pictures of food the whole time. And this was one of our companions at lunch. And then we traveled to Canto and to a wonderful old French resort for New Year's. And these are displays made of watermelon and other fruits and vegetables. And there's Jessie enjoying probably a cup of Vietnamese coffee. We went to quite a few markets from this area. The first are called the floating markets. And you travel by boat, and you pull up to someone's boat and you buy whatever you like. Coffee, fruits and vegetables, meat, clothes, jewelry. And we got off the boat to travel to a land market, which was, you'll see lots of photographs that had just about everything imaginable. This was not a market that was frequented by tourists, so I felt very fortunate that we got to see it. There's Gabe. And then we traveled north to Hanoi. This is a typical electrical outlet view. This is the Ho Chi Minh Palace, where he lived, and these are one of the houses on the grounds of his palace. He had beautiful old cars. And we went to his mausoleum also. We were not allowed to take photographs there, and we had to turn in all our cameras and cell phones pretty far away from the building, and there's the communist headquarters. Here's two of our teenage girls having iced coffee. And here's Jessie after a very delicious Vietnamese meal. Next, we're going to the Old Quarter in Hanoi, which is where we stayed. And these are typical street scenes from the Old Quarter. And here's Gabriel in front of, you can see it a little small, but you can see the word Claudia. In the Old Quarter, this was the first hotel that we stayed in 2001 when we adopted Gabriel. It's not a hotel any longer, but it's now a dress shop. There's Gabe and I. We wanted to go back to where we first stayed when we first got him. And here he is with Mrs. Chui, who was the owner and still is the owner of the building, and she was kind of like a big den mother. And she took care of us and of all the babies right after the adoption. And all the American families always liked to go back to visit her, and she left the name of the hotel on her building so that we could find her. We also went to the famous Vietnamese water puppet show. It's a very ancient tradition, and here's Ho King Lake, which is the center of Hanoi, and there it is at night. We also visited an elementary school, and we made a donation there. The kids sang "Now I Know My ABCs" for us in English. That's awesome. We visited 2 classrooms, and some of them spoke English to us. And there's the upstairs of the school, really beautiful architecture. And from there we traveled to Bat Trang, which is a pottery village outside of Hanoi. And we got to visit where they were actually making the pottery. And now we're getting ready to go north to Tuy Quang province. We traveled with a translator. He's next to Jesse, and we had a driver. And this particular translator had made many of these kinds of trips, and was very sensitive to the whole dynamic of this type of visit and how to maneuver through the translation process. So we were picked up at our hotel after breakfast, and we went on our way. And there's our driver. And then you'll just see some stops along the way. On our way out of Hanoi, we stopped to visit the site of the orphanage where Gabriel spent almost the first year of his life. This is a picture of it. It's been torn down now, but that's what it did look like. And here's Gabe outside of this spot where the orphanage formerly was. And this is leaving Hanoi as things become more rural. Typical roadside coffee shop. Here I am going to the ladies' room. Have to see the next slide, which is the famous squatty potty. And there's always pigs next to it. You can see it's starting to become, I'd say, a little bit more rural. You can see now the mountains in the background, kind of in the haze. There's a painting over against the wall that a friend of mine did based on some of these paintings to commemorate our trip. We stayed one night in the Green Vietnam Eco Lodge. This is a typical house that's built on poles or stilts, and the rooms are upstairs, and there's a grass roof. So at this particular farm, farmers were taught sustainable farming, organic farming. This is the view outside our room, and the painting that you see over there is based on that photograph in particular. All Gabe could say is, "Why can't we stay in a real hotel?" He was very disappointed. And the fruit called the pomelo is drying here. It looks a lot like a grapefruit, but it doesn't taste anything like a grapefruit. This is one of the bedrooms upstairs. They grew fresh figs, which we had for dinner. Yummy. There's the kitchen that was in another house on the property. And these are some typical scenes around the farm. We got a tour of the farm. The second day we were there by a Canadian named Reed, who had moved to Vietnam probably when he was about 64 years old. And he worked with the Vietnamese man who owned this farm. There's a barn. And there's one of the houses on the property, another house. You can see how they store wood on the first floor. And there's Reed, who was very generous with his time and took us all around the farm and showed us everything. And we had tea, lots of tea. And here are Gabe and I getting out of the car, and we, after a long journey, arrived at Miss Quay's. It was difficult to find, as we had heard many years ago. Thank goodness for cell phones. They called ahead and got directions, and I thought we'd never get there. I thought we were lost, but we did get there. And here's her home. And here's Gabe on the other side, and this is the same house that I had originally received a photograph of many years ago. And these are some of the crops that are grown by the family. And this is where Miss Quay cooks, inside her home with wood. And things, these are the walls of her house made of mud. There's her bed, and you can see how things are stacked up. And there she is, serving us tea. There's no running water in this village, so we were always served tea from thermoses. And these little plastic tables and chairs are very commonplace. And there she is. And there she is with Gabe. This was the first hug that she gave. She was very careful. And there's our translator. And as we had our tea, more and more people came into the little tiny house. Here's Gabe with Miss Quay and his aunt. And more family members. We realized after a while that the entire village probably was crammed into this little tiny house.
So Lisa, when you say family, is that the general phrase that they use for people in the village rather than literally family?
No, they were family.
They were family.
Yes, they were. They were. And here's both families. Gabe, next to him is his uncle, his birth mother, an aunt, another aunt behind, and then cousins. And we thought we were only going to meet the birth mother and the brother. And then these are just some scenes from the village. And this is the house next door to Miss Quay, Gabriel's uncle's house, which, as you can see, is quite a bit different. And on the right is Gabe's grandmother that we didn't know we would be meeting. She's now 92 years old. And there's 3 generations. Every house we went to, well, and here, this is a photograph or a portrait of Gabe's grandmother. We were given this before we left. And she's the woman who's now 92 years old. And this is her husband, Gabe's grandfather. Not alive anymore, but this portrait of him was on the wall of one of the homes we visited. And here's his son, Gabe's uncle, with Gabe. More tea. You can see a little laptop down at the bottom. One of the cousins had a laptop, and she followed our trip on Facebook. And here's the whole gang. We're going to lunch. I'm walking with Gabe's aunt, and we found out that she was the one who took Gabe to the orphanage. And here's the restaurant, which was actually the downstairs of someone's home. And they had a huge feast for us. Many unimaginable or undescribable items, but Jessie especially was a really good sport. It was Gabe's aunt and uncle, who had traveled for quite a ways, about 30 miles on a scooter, to see us. Here's Gabe's aunt. And we have a toast to Gabe's good health. And that's the owner of the restaurant at home. There's Gabe, his brother, who came a long way later that day with their birth mother. There they are with the aunt who took Gabe to the orphanage. We compared Gabe and his brother's hands. We believe that they had very similar mannerisms, even though they haven't lived near each other. Gabe with his birth mother. And then we traveled to Halong Bay to kind of decompress. This is on the way to Halong Bay. The bridge to Halong Bay, you recognize probably the large rock formations if you've seen pictures of this part of Vietnam. We stayed overnight on this wonderful boat. Tai Chi in the mornings. Beautiful flowers among the life jackets. And these are the rocks of Halong Bay, the formations. Jessie topside for New Year. And there's some of the kids that were on the trip. There's the 3 of us. I think I'm wearing the same top Penny has on.
Oh, right.
Jessie got to play golf at the Dragon Course, a very famous Vietnamese golf course. Here's Gabe before we left. I'm coming back. quite a long trip coming back.
What airline did you cross?
There's Gabe at home.
Did you find the mother before now?
She seemed okay. She did. Another motorcycle ride and galloping there. And now I'd like to read just a couple letters from since we got back. The first one was from Gabe's aunt, who took him to the orphanage. This was from April of this year. And she's next to me wearing the red top and has her arm around him.
Is she his mother's sister?
She's his uncle's sister. Uncle's wife, sorry. She's the mother's sister-in-law. And when we walked through the village, she held my hand, and her hand, the skin on her hand was so tough. None of the creams or anything that we have here. Dear Mrs. Lisa, I was very honored to meet your family in my village. You have made us and my neighbors feel many emotions. All of them said to me that you were so kind and Young was so lucky to be adopted by you. We are so grateful for your love for Young. And she wrote to Gabe, your name is Tran Hung Young, which I gave you. It means courage. I gave you that name because I wanted you to remain courageous in any situation. When I took you to the orphanage, I cried a lot. I was worried about your gloomy future. I was relieved when I learned that you would be adopted by an American couple because they said Americans were rich and they loved children. I have always prayed that luck would be by your side. I feel very happy now. I hope you would understand why your mother and I did what we did. Here in Vietnam, we all hope you are a good son to your mother, Lisa. She is the one who has raised you, which is most important. You must be a good son to her and grow up to become a real man. And then from Miss Quay, dear Mr. and Mrs. Kombrink Camacho, it's really nice to meet you. We all miss you and Young very much. I want to express my sincerely and thank you so much to bring Young to visit me and gave me so many gifts. Forgive me if the welcome was not good enough. I'm speechless and thank you for all that you did for us. We hope to meet you and Young in closest day. From the bottom of my heart, I wish you happiness, strength, and prosperity. Please. So maybe just a few questions.
Yes, yes.
Yes, a few questions? Yes.
Thank you very much. That was a splendid presentation. I was floored. I'm curious, and I'm sure the answer is that they are. Is Gabe keeping in touch with his brother, like emails, letters, or?
No, he's not really at that point yet. I mean, he's 14. He doesn't use email really much or texting or anything, so he's not at this point. No.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Yes, Richard.
Can you describe any uncomfortable moments during the trip?
Well, I would say that the day before we made the trip to visit the birth family, I was having breakfast by myself in our hotel. And a very nice young woman who was one of our tour guides named Sarah, whose picture I showed at the beginning. She passed by and she said, "How are you doing?" And I said, I feel like I'm going to start crying. I said, "But nothing's wrong." And she said, "You're just overwhelmed. It's all the emotion of what the trip and of what's to come." So that was pretty uncomfortable. And when we were at these various homes having tea, there were so many people talking all at once, all in Vietnamese, and our translator would focus on one particular person and he would relay to us what that person was saying. But there was all this chatter going on and laughing, and that was a little uncomfortable for me because I felt like there was all this stuff going on, and we didn't really know what it was. And the other thing was, by the end of our lunch and we walked back to Miss Quay's house, it was just so full. I really was kind of like I couldn't take any more emotion. It was so intense, so wonderful, really at the same time, so completely joyous and happy. But it was a lot to take in. And before we went on this part of the trip, I had asked our tour guide, I said, "Well, why are we only staying an afternoon? We're going all this way, 4-hour trip at least, staying overnight." And, I said, why are we only staying and having lunch with them? And she said, "Oh, Lisa, we've got this down to a science. 2.5 hours is the most that really any human being can handle." And she was right. That was plenty. I mean, totally wonderful, but that was enough. Yes.
Lisa, what was Gabe's reaction?
Gabe, I thought, took it really well. He was very quiet during it, but he was very receptive, I felt, and I think he did great. Anything you want to add, Jeff, to that? Very excited to meet his brother. Yeah, he was so excited that he had a brother. Yes.
Is the brother, would he like to come to the United States?
Yes, I think he would like to. We tried to arrange for him to maybe get some English lessons, but he works 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, and said he doesn't really have time. But we would like him to come at some point and visit. Yes. Anybody else? Kathleen, yes.
Although, as you said in Vienna, the her to be my brother, obviously twice she was his brother, and also.
No, apparently, we don't know the whole story, but we believe that she was married the first time. But that man wasn't around anymore.
So her family still embraces her.
I don't really know about that. But I think she lives in the village, and they really rallied around her for this, I would say. Yes. Well, we were told that when Katie from California, the nurse that found Miss Quay, came to their little village, that was the first time they all found out what happened, and that Gabe had come to the United States, and they were very happy. And so this second visit was a chance for them to see for themselves, that not only did he come to the United States, but that he was doing great and doing really well. Yes?
Is anything known about Gabe's birth father?
No. Anybody else? Any questions? Okay, thank you. Yes?
Does the family practice any religion?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I would assume they're Buddhists, but I don't know for sure.
While you were there, did you pick up any sentiments about the United States in terms of politics and memories of the war?
Well, we had an excellent Vietnamese tour guide named Chi. He taught us a lot about Vietnamese history. He had his own maps and charts that he shared with us on the bus when we traveled around. And he was very excited about the renewed relations between the two countries. And I would say that there was no ill will at all that we saw. And that was true when we were there 14 years ago. So I think we're having some... Okay, if you can stay, we're having some refreshments outside. Iced Vietnamese coffee for us and some dessert. Thank you.
Lisa. I have to tell you that that was one of the more moving presentations I think we've ever had here at the library. I want to thank Alexandra Storch, who I believe is your colleague, who told us about you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you all for being here. We have a lot of fun at these Armchair Traveler series, and they're all sort of slightly different one from another. The next couple of months we have one with Linda and Peter Talty, a trip to Kenya. And on a wild and crazy note, our trip to the Burning Man Festival. And I also just want to mention that in November, I mean, I know this is slightly, it may seem unrelated, but we're screening a film here that I found to be a pretty moving film related to Vietnam, and it's called Last Days in Vietnam. And some of you have probably seen it. I didn't have high expectations, but and all of many of us probably lived through some of those years. This was a very enlightening film, and it also gave you a sense, much more than I had previously had, about what kind of people the Vietnamese people are. And you got to meet them yourselves, but they're quite remarkable and kind and open, and you've given us a wonderful gift here. Thank you very much, Lisa, and thank you all.